So I've picked out a couple stuff for us to look at today, a little bit of everything. Last time was a little short. I just wanted to start a little slow with our paintings and our critiques and all of that for our first day back, but we're definitely going back into all of this now. So a couple of announcements. Please, 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 please vote for our next challenge theme. It's a very, see, I told you, you think one thing is winning, but eventually something starts catching up. So please vote. Make sure that, things happen. And then we actually get a not unanimous, but at least cover as much of the, viewers as possible. So that when I put this together, you all want to do it, and you're all pretty much, have voted and put your voice in and let yourselves be heard. So if you want to be a part of these challenges and you're not casting your vote, you have no right to complain about how boring they might be. I invited you guys to comment and, for the future challenges and what you guys might want to see for future challenges. So if you have ideas, please comment on what you want as a future challenge, and I will kind of write something up for it. The point is to help you learn how to be in a workplace environment, or how to work with art that you didn't necessarily write or design, so that you can train yourself to work with someone else's vision. Though I do give you the creative choice to decide what the polls offer you and the topic itself, if you guys make comments and let your voices be heard. I don't think that users can post polls, but you can always post on polls and discuss what it is you want to see. I'll look through these questions soon and answer if anyone has any questions. I don't take requests. If you want your work looked at, you post it to the community. You don't send it to me, and you don't request. I critique, and that's about it. I don't look at personal requests. You want to have your work looked at, post it on the community. That's why we've built it to have 7,000 eyes on it, and plus, and I'm sure you're going to get a critique or two or a ton as you need it. If it fits the themes of today, if I feel like I have something to add to the wonderful critiques they've already been given, all of these paintings, then I will. But I don't take requests. Also, if I don't choose your work, if I choose your work and not get to it, don't comment on my video and say you wish that I did look at your work or something like that. It's in bad taste. I try to get to everyone as much as possible, and I've been very, very under the weather for the past decade, I guess. So let's get started. Please, please make your vote and make your choice here on the poll. I want to see a bunch of people voting. I don't like sending out challenges if no one's gonna get involved. And 235 is very much, but I still want more. Honestly, out of the 235 votes, for every 200 votes, 10 people join, and 10 posts isn't enough to justify sitting down and writing and collecting resources and putting my effort in. Honestly, for every 200 people that vote, 10 people are involved. So if you're really serious about joining these challenges, please make your vote, and so I can see how many people are going to be receiving it. And that said, if you like all these challenges, if you like this channel, you want to support, Patreon is going to be here. I'm going to try to get this out as much as possible, even as just a watcher. You're more than welcome to become part of our Patreon and help our channel grow. Our aim is 1,000 patrons, so if you guys can help me get there. And that is it. Let's get started. I'm not taking questions right now at all, and if you have any questions you can about Portrait Studio specifically, there is a whole section to ask questions on the store. If you scroll down, you can post a form submission. I don't take questions here. It's not a, like tech services. It's only for critique. So if you have questions, make sure you send an email in, and someone will get back to you. Okay, let's get started. So I was looking at this piece. I really there's nowhere to start because all of these have connected themes, but they all seem to be pulling from different parts of the map. This piece right here, sorry, one sec. This piece right here has something about it that it's not working for me. And if I were to get a picture of a really pretty lady, let's say pretty lady. Let's just Google pretty lady, and it gave me a song. let's say this lady right here, very average face, not too pretty, not too, I mean, she's very beautiful. She's a beautiful human person, but just not that typical Barbie doll pretty. Wider nose, smaller mouth, larger jawline, large chin, but still a woman. And let's just flip this picture. I am going to lower the opacity and just tilt it in this way for you and show you what you've done. Okay. You use the beauty triangle that is really specifically for women, sorry, on a male face, but you gave it all of the... So this year I've been really, really adamant about making sure you guys see exactly what I see. Okay, you've used these exact proportions. Choose a section and I'll turn it on and off and you'll see how they sync up. Okay, let's get a picture of a man. Let's just search man. I don't know what comes up. The definition for man comes up. Okay, so if I was a casting director and I was in charge of casting this mercenary, I would choose somebody like this, depending on who he is. I wouldn't give this baby face, doll face, little baby girl. I wouldn't give her I wouldn't give him the role of mercenary. Maybe a love interest or part of a love triangle or something. Maybe. This guy, maybe. He's still a little bit cutesy, but the guy who plays Punisher has a very similar face, but is very, very heavy built. So he got the soldier, the mercenary job. But this fella right here, his nose looks like it's been punched a couple times. He's very handsome, but he's not handsome in the cute way. There's a distance between his nose and his mouth. He's got very, very large eyes. He looks like what we probably need. Let's find another set of another pretty boy, cutesy little baby. Maybe he could be the side mercenary dude, who isn't necessarily the badass aged leader, but God, Google, you scare me. Let's see. This is why I laughed when they cast him as one of the mercenaries. He looks like he has the eyes of a devil. But I can't seem to find a good... Here you go. This is perfect. Kind of looks high. And then, again, if I was the casting director, I would give these roles to someone else. So, a bigger nose, big eyes, but they're close together. Mouth far away, but he's technically a pretty boy. He's what, how Jon Snow character was called a pretty boy, even though he was a soldier in all respects. All right. So if he was called a pretty boy, he aged very, very well. His proportions stayed intact. But when you age, your mouth gets a little bit more thin, and your eyes start to droop, and your nose starts to droop. Your nose keeps growing, by the way. The nose doesn't stop growing. Let's match this fella over. So his eyes are very close together. I'm trying to match the nose size. I'm basing this off the size of the nose. This is a 3/4 view as well. Eyes are much smaller. Lips are much further from the nose. As you can see, look at the top lip and then look at the new bottom lip. And this is 3/4 view, and I'm just matching the nose size exactly. The eyes should be much closer together. Look at the corners. All right, so this is 3/4 view that you had. You broke the beauty rules, and you used a perfect female face on a male. Stop doing this. These are real issues, and I don't care how much blood you put into his nails. I don't care how many teeth are lodged into his knuckles. It's not going to help make this character look more manly and more scary. He looks like a really nice king who's very, 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 very freaking handsome. He does not read as a scary mercenary dude, and even a king shouldn't have a face that looks like this. So, sometimes I feel like that's it. I'm done. I showed you the befores and afters of the pictures, and that should have been enough, but I'm just going to give you the paint over anyway. All right, eyes should be closer together. I probably shouldn't try to do this with Liquify, but I'm going to risk it. All right, eyes closer together instantly. Still handsome. Take it easy. Put your pants back on. You draw women a lot, and you draw women a lot, and they look very, very pretty. And that's all you've drawn for a while, and then you just tried to draw. You went full, all the way, and you wanted to try the most manliest man you could draw. And this is what happened. And you have to be aware that you're still seeing the female. You're still basing this off what you think is handsome, which isn't right. Handsome for men is very different from handsome for women. Because a female handsome, a female beautiful is very baby-like, with smaller features, a big bobbly head, small upper body, large lower body. You also gave him Mads Mikkelsen cheekbones. Mads Mikkelsen is a freak accident. He's very handsome, but he's got some, what's the term? Redeeming features that make his face a little bit more masculine. He's got the most feminine cheekbones I have ever seen. He gets away with it, but they're still pretty low. They're not high female cheekbones. Mads Mikkelsen is the guy who plays the new crappy version of Hannibal, or he's just took a bunch of random roles. Valhalla Rising. Okay, so I'm gonna give his eyebrows a little bit more weight to them. I also don't like the idea of his non-1,000-mile, 1,000-yard stare. I feel like we should see more of his eyes to make him look like he's ready to kill. This one can be tired. It's got one eye open type thing. All right. His pupils and his iris are still humongous. Again, the same thing. Please pay attention to that. There's so many differences between male and female. I can hardly go over them every single class, but no, you gave it all to us. You gave us the nice eyes. You gave us, if his eyes are this hooded, he really wouldn't have all these sparkly Disney pupils and irises. He really wouldn't have this extra little bit of light. You want to make it look like he's lost all his humanity in his mission, whether or not he's the protagonist. And all of this extra business belongs to that kind of like half beautiful, half realistic, half anime, half whatever style that you use with the female. But for males, observe this even in Disney, even in styles that are centered around beauty standards. They still break some of the beauty for the male characters, so they don't read as princesses as well. If you overlap Elsa with her sister, then you'll see that they are the exact same face. But then you overlap it with one of the male characters like Johansson, I don't know what his name is. He won't look so beautiful. All right, then I'm going to widen the nose. Might have to enlarge that eye now that I lowered. And then I'm going to extend the distance here. All right. So let me show you an actor who I think is handsome as all godly power. But he looks the opposite of the beauty standard. He really doesn't look like a handsome dude. So Abu, can you find me the guy who played the role of the dude from Glitch? Remember the show Glitch? Who got hanged? Can you find me the name of that fella while I'm doing this? I will show you what I think is handsome, but at the same time, zero beauty standards or almost none. All right, I'm going to bring in a little bit more light around the eyes. All right, raising this a little bit, giving him that scowl. Getting rid of his cheeks completely does not damage his his whole face. It doesn't damage him at all. Ron Perlman. Really? Ron Perlman's got bubbly features. Like they just look like they're blown up. Okay, so you see how I brought the cheek back, but only by recessing the lower cheek, and the cheekbone is still there, but it's not out here like a you know, a beautiful face. Or they don't look like cheek implants. Alright, and I'm going to give him that scowl low here. Gotta get rid of that thing. And then his head is massive. Again, the beautiful girls that you're used to drawing, this is what happens. Men's heads compared to their upper bodies look tiny because they've got very, very large upper bodies. And so we need to make it seem like his upper body is as big as we think. Roger Corser, can you send me a link? Or let's just Google him, actually. Okay, so let's have a look. This dude is the most gorgeous human being. He's in glitch, he's amazing. But he is not because he's not wearing a shirt, okay? But look at how close his eyes are to each other. Isn't he cute? Isn't he handsome? You have to watch him act. Alright? I think he's gorgeous. But he is the opposite of the beauty standard. Wide mouth, very ogre face. But how is it someone with such a wide mouth is, you know, considered cute? Why do we consider him cute? Well, women are obviously sick of seeing the cute in men. They want to find the opposite. And you as the writer and the artist have to embody that desire for us to see the opposite of beauty. If you give us a beautiful, and I projected that face right on top, that beautiful girl, I put it right on top of your painting. I felt nothing but an uncanny, like it just felt uncanny what you drew. But this guy's got the full ogre face going on. Eyes close to each other, large nose. He's not that bad. His eyes are not that close together like that one actor for Dudley Dursley. His eyes are very, very close together. Okay, let's just take a look at this one. I'm joking. In that same show, though, there is this fella. Very humongous eyes, large neck, very equal to the jawline. Very athletic, large chin, thin lips, small nose, large eyes, high-ish cheekbones, very feminine. And this character was actually, he was cast for a gay character. So they're doing this stuff on purpose. This isn't all accidental or implied, or we're not dancing around eggshells. We're designers, and casting directors work the exact same way. They look for a character's face, an actor's face, that reflects the character. How would an artist draw this face? Still considered cute, but not necessarily beautiful. We're still considered beautiful, but not necessarily cute, I guess I should say instead. Okay, and you're going to see the before and after. See the minor changes that I can add. I only have so much time and I have to get to everyone else. But I hope that you're seeing the error of your ways. Gonna give a tiny little light, not a big sparkly anime light in the eyes, just a small little specular. It's just to show that he has human eyes, just like that. I'm just gonna flip this and correct that cheekbone. Not make it so, you know, more of a sculpt like this way, instead of a full-on circle. So this is what I mean by don't use that circular shape. Oops. Okay, and then I'm going to bump all this in. He's not really chubby, he just has a big beard. I'm flipping back. Okay, so that guy I felt like was perfect for this role because he had that ruggedness as well as the friendliness to him, because he ends up being a love interest. Sorry if I'm spoiling it for you. It's your fault. It's been on Netflix for like 7 years. And if you're not, seeing that all these different changes and all your characters look like the same girl you've always drawn, you're going to keep getting this odd reaction from your, the oddness. People reacting to the oddness of how you decided to cast this character. So I would call it casting. Are you casting your characters well? So these eyes are all a different size. They need to be corrected. Trying to make him look like he's looking in the same direction. Okay. Alright, so any questions for this paint over? I hope it's helped you. I'm just going to give him a squint just to add to that attitude problem. A couple of age signatures around his face, like the dark circles, those definitely help. Like, it's not so much that he looks like a villain. Remember how we talked about old age also is uses a bit of the villain symbols. I would actually be very wary of using an uplifted eyebrow. A flatter eyebrow would actually work a lot better to help correct the femininity. There we go. And then flatten. Also, the composition is really off. I don't know why you have a horizontal canvas for a vertical portrait. It's the opposite of what you should be doing. All right, some really quick corrections. And voila. Big, big head. Any questions? The lesson is not how to paint Joel. Who's Joel? Check a pic of Joel. I don't know who Joel is. This is Joel from The Last of Us. Okay. His nose is still wide. His mouth is still distant. If he took his mustache off, his mouth would still be distant. You're referencing, at the end of the day, you're referencing a game. It's like saying, I referenced this off of Overwatch. You can't blame me because I used Overwatch. You're referencing an artist, referencing, and trying to make everyone look cute. This is horrifying. I would never allow this. Look at the eyes, are huge. But then they correct that over here in the poster because they didn't put the same amount of development effort here. What's with those pupils? Is he wearing contacts? He looks like a little anime girl. Seems corrected over here. It seems corrected over here. Right, but these are still very flat eyebrows, very wide nose, very wide mouth. And in your version, he looks like an exaggerated version of all of this. The nose is much smaller. The eyes are much larger. In your case, you enlarged the eyes. In this case, I feel like his eyes are big, but the pupils are really what throw it off. The iris, sorry, is what throws it off. All right, this is not an excuse. I referenced a game. It doesn't matter. A game is already being influenced by all these uncanny feelings. Any game that tries to push uncanniness and still use these principles, tries to push realism and still uses some of the cartooning principles, that is a perfect storm for uncanny. You either go for realism or you go for cartooning. If you're trying to merge the two together, you end up with something that's a little bit off. You're always leaning to one pole more than the other. In Disney, they do realism as far as form is concerned, but they don't try to go for real wrinkles, and they don't try to go for real anatomy or real human shapes. All of the sizes the heads are huge in these stories because that's cartooning and that's what you get away with. But this is why you're making this mistake, because you're choosing a reference that enables this problem instead of choosing a reference that actually helps you characterize. I still need more time to fix this, but this is as much as I can do for now. So the head size is a little bit smaller. Kind of feel like his neck is tucked into his chin, but I need to get onto the others. Okay, so I hope that helped you see this. All right, same thing, but this is really to do with the pupils again. The large, the big eye. And that's why I chose these two pieces today, because they have very, very similar issues. First of all, it's a 3/4 view. I'm not sure which reference you used or how you read it, but in 3/4 view, the eyes don't have the same width. So it means we need to do something like this, and then do something like this. Okay, so that helped us out just a little bit. It felt like his face was unwrapped and flattened out. Kind of looked like a very pretty woman wearing a fake beard. And that's what happens when you guys use beauty standards of females on this. I got a real female face. I didn't get a cartoon face. If I had gotten a cartoon face, it would still have passed. All right, so you see, I'm going to keep doing this, and I want you guys to just permanently remember this little thing. All right, flattened, ironed out face, unwrapped, got steamrolled, and this is when it got its 3/4 view shape back. This is all that your painting was missing, dude. Outside of this, your painting is wonderfully done, very stylistic. The head's a little bit short, I think, because of your canvas size. All right, and maybe this is because all you've done is draw women for the longest time, and you haven't really tried to break out of that. And problem number 2 would be that his head is too short. All right, so before, after. Do you see how large his pupils were now that we're looking at the after? Okay, he looked like that satanic character that they cast for Prince Caspian. You know how in Supernatural or Buffy, when you're satanic, your whole eye goes black? That's what that actor reminds me of. All right, so you see what I mean about equal exposure? This is a bad idea. And now I'm going to bring in the pupils. It's not going to be as stylized as you did it, but I'm going to bring in something that is a little bit more modest. And it's going to look just fine. Probably should have done this a little bit better, but this should be a little bit higher. Nope, the eye is low. It's the eye that's low, not the pupil. Okay, so before, do you see what I mean with the satanic eye? And after, you can make these as dark as you need to. If he has black eyes, by all means do it, but I don't recommend you do that. You've stylized this face so much, just choose like a lighter brown or gray. That'll do just fine. His head, his face might be too small for his head, because you kind of, what you lost in length, you made up for in width everywhere. So in fact, don't even try that. Just push in the head a little bit. That might help you get more realistic proportions. All your style is intact. It's still a man. I didn't turn it into something else. It just doesn't look like ironed out. If he is satanically embodied, then you probably should keep the black eyes. Okay. Yes, exactly, Antares. Rotation and compression. Those are fundamentals of form and perspective. Do you think the lips are off at all? They seem to stand out to me. I don't mind them. I'm not even bothered by them at all. They don't stand out at all. What stood out to me was the issue with the eyes and the head and the 3/4 view. Should the artist close their canvas off with darkness in the corners? Could they blur the gun to create depth? No. This looks like propaganda. It looks like a propaganda campaign. It looks like it's deliberately minimalist and impressionist. I wouldn't touch it with, really, really cheesy effects like blurring off the sides. This isn't an attempt at a photographic representation of a landscape or really romantic Hobbiton in the rain or something like that. I think it's just fine the way it is. It was just this form problem. The sunburn, the flag behind him, I think that's what it is. The gesture of the hand, it's all intact, it's all beautiful. Maybe just a little bit more detail around the eyes. If you're not going to detail them all the way, just add some detail, add a pupil, add some light or color in the iris, just something to give him more of the feeling that he is the protagonist, which I think he is. So before, after. Never ever have your character stare straight at the camera. You want to be a part of his story, and if you're part of his story, he doesn't notice you there while he's living his story. A character that looks directly at the camera notices the viewer, which because of that involves the viewer in the story, and therefore the viewer no longer feels like you're breaking the fourth wall, basically, when you do that, is what I'm trying to say really badly. Okay. Then we've got this with its reference. So the reference here, the best thing about this entire reference, there are a million, I don't know what you did to the eye, like over here. I really don't, Jesus, where is this? I don't know what you did to the eye over here. I don't know why you did this. Maybe it was weird. Maybe there was a watermark or something. It looks really weird. Okay. There are a million references for a girl looking up in this direction. 1,000 of them. But you chose this one because it spoke to you and you liked it. The one thing that makes this different from all of the others is the expression. This expression is very unique, very expressive. It's beautiful. And you missed out on it. You missed it completely. This is an opportunity for you to, jeez, man. Index, RGB. Okay. This is an opportunity for you to change this, to memorize this, to record this expression. This desperation, damsel in distress, curiosity, but hope at the same time. Don't worry about the eyes. I'm just looking at the eyebrows. If they get distorted, I'll get the old back. So it kind of does a downward S and an upward S, and they all link together. I mean, downward C, upward C, and they all link together as an S. So that's the trend lines I talked about last class. All right. This is the one good thing about your reference, and you ignored it completely, which is very, very sad because it's a beautiful reference to work with. The lighting is very gorgeous, very beautiful shadow. Look at that shadow on the nose, which, oh, you missed. Very, very mad at you. Tommy, you know what to do. Oh, jeez, did I just... Oh, I did. It's fine. All right, everything's fine. Oh, okay, I had it. So, oh, jeez, no, because it was indexed. Okay, image. Oh, God. Image, adjustments, mode, RGB. Oh, okay. Image, adjustments, mode, RGB. Golly, can you not hand in index, please? So, what was I even saying before this? Right, you missed all of the good stuff. All of the good stuff, and you kind of just shared your patience and your skill everywhere else until you ran out of patience to deal with the study. Prioritize the good stuff. Find the good stuff. Do you want me to tell you what the good stuff is? I'll tell you what the good stuff is. It starts with proportions, all the fundamentals of rotation, symmetry, getting the right beauty standard, whether it's male or female or whatever. Cast shadows when we start rendering. That's all planning before this. This is all rendering now. Cast shadows. Being able to balance your texture. Focusing all the detail on the eyes. And of course, actually having the active aspects in there. If it's a gesture, you capture the gesture. If it's the gesture in this, the movement in this is her eyebrow. That's what makes it, not static. It makes it feel like it's actually in motion. So I feel like you missed out on all of this. Also, texture overload. Especially that you had this kind of like Hollywood cinema reference here. The fact that you went for the texture is very unusual. Whenever I have a soft reference, I apply the softness I find in the reference if it's a soft photo. If it's a very rough photo, then I kind of let my brush do its thing and not try to censor its texture too much. So using a smudge tool just to get that softness back, you'll find that you're hiding a lot of your fears with this texture. A lot of your fears are hiding behind this texture. Look at this wall of shadow that you introduce with these over-textured values, where it is in the exact opposite where shadows are pooling right now, which is on the other side of the face. All right, you completely, all the best stuff. This is one big cast shadow, and look how messy your texture work. Look how messy of a job you did at capturing this cast shadow. It's the best thing about this. One of the best things. The two things I love about this photo are the eyebrows and what they're doing. I care less about her. She could be any other face in the world, but the cast shadow of her nose. Okay, and then I'm just carrying this cast shadow all the way down. Cast shadow on her face, sorry, and the cast shadow on all the cast shadows. All look beautiful. Look at the eye length problem you have. You have a problem with eye length. You have an inability to see and respect, sort of, in a way, your cast shadows. You're, in every sense of the word, if you're ignoring cast shadows deliberately or accidentally, you're a beginner. Every real style that is applicable to, all kinds of rendering jobs or anything that has to do with design or illustration, we're not talking about like abstract styles, all of them appreciate their cast shadows. And if you're in a position where you feel like you don't need your cast shadows, that is a sign that you don't know what they do. And if you don't know what they do, you haven't studied them enough. They are the most beautiful way to track down the kind of light source you have. They are a beautiful way to mention your light source in your painting. It's all about the light. Look how rough you decided to render the lips, but look at your reference. Where did you get the idea to bring in your own texture? You didn't even have a texture guide. Whenever you try to emulate texture or apply texture as a style, find a source for it, a guide for it. If you want to try textured rock, look at a real picture of a rock and allow that texture to guide your textured brush and your painterly technique. You had no reference for your attempt at texture other than your own instinctive hand dance, which in my opinion is not prioritized over cast shadows, is not prioritized over proportions, which you lost a little bit of. When I do these photo studies, I prioritize my cast shadows immediately. First couple blocks, first couple lines of planning are always dedicated to where the cast shadow will be and what its role is in the painting. Right now I'm just smudging this. And all my effort right now is just to bring that cast shadow back and its softness, bring that softness back in the face, bring the eyebrows back in to allow that active expression, that personality. Exaggerate it if you want to. You can enlarge her eyes. Go ahead. It's a style. Okay, everything is so soft and so softened in here. The photographer took every measure to make sure it's soft. But, yeah. So, any questions? All right, let's find some proportions, construction, symmetry, beauty signatures, cast shadows, prioritize details on the eyes, gesture, expression. All that stuff is really what makes a professional painting look professional. That's what really makes a portrait look great. When you capture all of that, keep your emotional and creative voice to the end. Or you can leave it for the beginning, but don't try to adjust or censor fundamentals for your own creative voice. Because what happens is you end up skipping a really big, like a big shot fundamental, like cast shadows, and you didn't even realize it. Cast shadows are not less important than your creativity. Write that back to me. They are assisting your creativity. They amplify your creativity, but not if your creativity is the first and most important thing you think about when you're painting a picture. You're trying to be an artist right now. You're trying to try a very difficult. You're trying to paint. It's very difficult to do that. You're trying to be an artist. And with that comes the ability to read sciences. And if something as fundamental as a cast shadow is being ignored, then expect all manners of failure in your work, all manners of, you know, issues and disproportionateness and all of the stuff that, you know, the real epidemics that artists suffer from. You need to study your geometries. You missed out on the cylindrical cast shadows on the lips. You missed out on the cast shadow on the face. You missed out on the nose cast shadow and its sharpness. You need to put away all your references and focus on geometric shapes floating in space. And understand that texture isn't necessary unless it's called for, unless it plays some sort of narrative role in your painting. If you were trying to make it seem like she's trapped in a darkness, and you're trying to display like what a serious emotion like anguish is in a painting, you could by all means use as much nasty, gross texture as you want to give off the feeling that the depression or the depressive state is really, you know, messy and murky, like a deep, pool or something like that. And so you use these kinds of images by using these gross, twiggy-like textures to give off the feeling. But over here, where there is shadow, I mean, not even in the reference you had that much hair detail. You have a lot of misconceptions about how important your textures are. And I am here to tell you they are not as important as you think. No, this is not my opinion. These are fundamentals. I don't know when you picked up this dependency on textures, but let it go. There's a massive, oh my gosh, look at that. Look at that C shape. That's what you look for. This reference is beautiful. That's what you look for. Look at that C shape. Look at that S shape right here. This is the stuff you go for. Drawing a million little lines and thinking that by drawing a million little lines, automatically you get rendered hair, just automatically, just because you did, is a sign of a beginner. And I'm using that word, and if it damages, you know, your image or perception of where you are right now, good. Because it means you'll finally be released of your current level and you'll improve. But a beginner is someone who is mostly unaware of the fundamentals, and seeing that this major texture problem and the neglect, like the way you neglected the cast shadows, is a very big example of, and the softness and the expression that you didn't see. These are all fundamentals. I'm trying to just bring back some texture. All right. How does one create that kind of bloom? It's in every level. It's in the first level. It's what you do with your edges. Sometimes I put my smudge tool on 1%. 1%, just like this. And we get this bloom. Do you see that? This is my favorite of my smudge brushes. It is the number 4. Look at that, we got that bloom instantly. It's just by smudging. It's just by distorting edges. It's very, very simple. All right, this lower half of the canvas is not doing the right thing. Okay, so you have a lot of potential because your face pretty much looks like hers. You don't have this issue. But what you did with everything else is very alarming, and you should be attempting to fix all of that. You gave us this extra little C shape of light. You know what that did? That made her look like she was 30 years older. All right, now we have this beautiful camera type haze. You can go back. I wouldn't go back. I love this old Hollywood haze in the camera. I wouldn't go back, but you can. Feel free to. And get some real edges. Get some overlap edges. If you don't know what those are, go to my videos and do a little search, edges, and you'll know exactly what they are. All right, you'll find out which edges are which. The background's just a little lighter around the hair to reveal it. Okay, if you feel like you need more darks, go ahead. I feel like this corner is hovering way out, and that's another sign that you are working with your symbols, as I mentioned last class. I feel like you used the photograph. I feel like you used the photograph on top. I could be mistaken. I feel like you painted on top of the painting, but I wouldn't know. Okay. So I'm going to close that up. Hopefully that was helpful for you. Yes. Why is it a GIF? Desktop save. Okay. What is more correct? Painting layer by layer or from one part completely finishing it? For example, eyes moving on painting, or does it simply depend on the preference? No, there is a right way to do it, and painting one feature at a time is the wrong way to do it. No matter how you render, you're always going to be rendering one thing first, but you don't start from scratch one thing at a time. Is that what you mean? Absolutely not. How are you working with a plan? How are you keeping symmetry in mind when you're starting one eye at a time? It doesn't matter what you saw on YouTube or Instagram. Those are professionals. They've done it a million times. They know exactly where the other eye should be because of the mileage that earned them that luxury. You're still beginners. Please never try to mimic the technique of a professional. Mimic their knowledge, mimic the fundamentals, or in fact, skip them entirely and go straight into the actual source, photographic source. Jamila? Who's Jamila? Are you talking about one person? No, Waizu. You outline, you draw your symmetry line, you block in the major shadows, you outline, make sure you have proportions right, you outline the head, compare it to the shoulders, get your trend lines, get your trace lines, whatever you need. Then you get your horizontal symmetry lines and make sure you have those. Then lay down some really, really basic shapes for the geometric anatomy of the nose. Draw the diagram of the pyramid of the nose if you want it, to be extra safe. The more you plan now, the more you'll learn, the better you'll eyeball later. Write that back to me. The more you plan now, the better you'll eyeball later. الرسمة يا صحيح. جدا جدا جميلة. الصورة. What do you think of cynics? I don't really have any opinion about any YouTubers. I don't really follow them. Kind of trying to do the opposite of what they do over here. Istebrak, do you think Andrew Loomis's books could have some information for anatomy? Absolutely. Bern Hogarth I recommend a lot, though. He does have a specific style. But I think it's only a style while he's teaching. I think when he actually applies himself, his work looks amazing. These are very, very outdated beauty standards that you're referencing, and using art books might help you. The word isn't help. It just might make you develop a very, very blocky template with which you draw all faces, which can be awkward at first if you work against that and eventually learn the difference between the block of a female and the blocked face of a male. But you run the risk of never outgrowing that blocky template you learned from those art books, which again it's like a double-edged sword. You can benefit from it, or it can completely ruin the way you draw people for the rest of your life or for the next year, which no one has time for. So be very, very careful with art books. Take them at face value. Nothing is better than actual mileage. Art books are a guide. You don't actually go to them for fundamentals. You go to the source for fundamentals, which is the real world. They can help you outline which fundamentals we're talking about and help you make you learn words for them and give you names for them, but they are not the source of fundamentals. They are one person's interpretation of the fundamentals. One person. Oh, صورة والرسمة. Okay. Yes, I am Arabic. I speak Arabic. Yes, the more you plan, the easier it will be to outline later, or eyeball later. The more you outline, the easier it will be for you to eyeball later. So this one is very stylized, but it also has that same 3/4 view problem we saw in that other character. Feels very ironed out. Can anyone answer what ironed out means? By the way, guys, at the end of every month, I look at the best note takers, and if you guys are interested in them, I give you free copies of my brush. And for really good note takers, I give the whole bundle. Just to encourage you all to, all the brushes that I use, every single one. just to encourage you guys to take notes and actually have an active learning process. The person is really good at knowing color value. So yeah, I asked a question, what does the ironed out feeling mean when I'm talking about that? Flattened, not rotated enough. Good answer. Let me see some more. Ironed out means no rotation, showing the area that should be tucked behind her face. Exactly, ironed out. Like a 3D object was flattened. Exactly. So what does that mean? The student is very sneaky and thinks they're getting away with it just by showing the side of one nostril. But if I change this nostril, it would just look like a very long face. The eye needs to show that it is in a state of 3/4 view, and that means the far side of the eye has a little bit more visibility, less visibility, and the closer side to us has more visibility. So this means, the problem with this is that we have an anime style that this person's trying to employ. So before that, I've separated the section here. I'm going to start by flattening this, just straight flattening it. There's a lot of painting. It's not just a flattening, it's a hand painting that's required to flatten this eye properly, but it will flatten towards the far side. It won't flatten towards the middle. So if you want to shrink the far eye, you shrink it towards it's the outside, not the inside. You don't tuck it in here more. God damn it, let me use the right one. You don't tuck it in here more. You tuck it out there more. You hide it out here more. So you see how I shifted my version down? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start deleting away at it until it kind of recedes into the far part of the eye, until it looks like it's an actual 3/4 view. Okay. Now that I've done that, you can see how far away that original eye was and how pretty much the same size as the 3/4 view eye it was. So I'm just going to clean this up, take this whole section and shift it over. Boop, boop, boop. All right, so it's like I said earlier, Disney took on the realism. So I'm ignoring this. I'm not looking at any of this right now. Forget this. I'm looking at this. Disney, when it took on its realism for 3D modeling its Disney characters and actually doing 3D animation for the typical Disney girl face, Disney princess face, they kept the proportions of cartoons, but they added the realism just in the reflectivity and form and cast shadows and other 3D modeling aspects. That's what you should do. You keep all the 3D modeling aspects. This means, and it does not exempt rotation. Okay, so just because you're copying a cartoon doesn't mean you 3/4 view the way a cartoon does. Have you seen anime in 3/4 view? It looks ironed out. Okay. Only some really good anime styles are doing this, but there is almost very, very limited rotation, and they really only do it for the male, because the male is so muscular, they can't really give you that, that kind of setup, but it just looks like a flattened version of the eye. It just looks very, very flat. This is an extreme 3/4 view. They get away with it with this, but we're talking about this here for your style. Okay, so next up would be the final eye, which I've widened and enlarged, and I'm tucking it in just a little bit more. Okay, so it actually feels like it's sticking out, and I'm going to just not sure what's happening. Oh, I'm still on selection. Okay. And I'm just going to include the lower eyelid real quick, because if this was a 3D model of Princess Mononoke, she would have eyelids if she wanted to blink, or if they wanted to animate her as blinking. Have you guys noticed that really bad children's show animations have eyes that don't move because they don't want to invest the extra rendering power of making characters blink? Have you guys noticed this? And really good, well animated well, you know, really good 3D animation have eyes that blink. Okay, so we're gonna do before I shift down, we're gonna do a quick flip. And this eye needs even more compression, which actually I'm gonna do with Liquify. Actually, I'm gonna merge this eye down and then merge this eye down. So I should have merged. So this is a very, very complicated process because it includes disappearing acts. So there's stuff that starts to disappear. Goodbye. You don't see it, you don't draw it. But students like to draw that stuff. Then there's the complicated fact of which eye to shrink and how to shrink it. Students always shrink in the wrong way or not at all. And then there's not knowing what to do with the rest of the features in this kind of rotation. And then there's what to leave behind and what to completely remove from the cartoon influence. And then what to do with the eye facing forward. Alright, so I'm just going to select this, flip my canvas, always flip you guys, always, always flip. I'm just going to adjust this. Okay, as for the expression, you can enlarge if you want to. You can enlarge all of these features. Right now, her lower part is bigger than her upper part. For this to be truly anime, you need to do something scary like this. You know, something that actually works along those proportions, which compared to how they were before, very, very different. This is more realistic. This is more stylized. Okay, then there is the little tail, which I warn against that you've included. Delete that. Oops. Which we need to get rid of and turn into an actual pit or, you know, muscle instead of, excuse me, I'm going to make this 15. And we do that just by filling in the blanks. Then there's how people decide to draw girls, how people draw girls, how they, you know, what they do with the eyelids. What students do with the eyelids is that they like to, no matter what kind of girl or what expression she always has sleepy eye. This girl, we're talking about Princess Mononoke, the one who sucked blood to poison and blood out of her wolf mom's neck. All right, this is not a girl that is in constant Instagram phase. And I want you to capture this kind of stuff. I want you to recreate the character, but in realism. This is what you as the artist are doing when you're trying, quote unquote, realistic version. I'm trying to do something else with this corner here. So what I'm going to do with the eye is get rid of that extra space and give her that fierceness. I'm trying to work as fast as possible. Flipping back and forth as needed. And then soft brush. And casting our shadows. Excuse me. That little tail downward was really throwing off the lips and what they were doing. Really no role. If you're going to go for full realism, do we have these tails in Disney animation? This little tail on the lip? Do we have that? Has anyone noticed one of those? They're not needed because you can model the whole lip. So paint as if you're modeling the whole lip. There's no need to use any more things that you depended on when you were rendering, when you were just drawing flat cartoons. There's no reason to do any more of that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to try to cheat this in. This is a very tricky trick I'm trying to do. Okay, I'm going to start with this one. I want her to look fierce. Look at how much more fierce she looks. Jesus. And then we've got another one over here. Jeez, what am I doing? Sorry, I needed to zoom in. Alright. Look how much more fierce she looks. When we lower that upper eyelid. Kind of overdid this one. I can always flip and check. Okay. Sleepy girl looking behind her. Okay, you can say she was lounging around and turned around and looked at Sin or whatever his name is. I think she's Sin. I don't know what the other guy is. Ichigo? No. Ashitaka? Ichigo. Okay, so look at how much more fierce she is when we don't allow the lower eyelid, the upper eyelid to have so much space. This eye is just a little bit off. Take it easy with that, sleepy eye. Because a style can still have strength and should be developed in all manners of expressions. A style should still keep its kind of dignity, I guess, even in an expression. A style shouldn't be dependent on the constant preservation of one kind of eye. If it is that way, it's a weak style, an easy to draw style, and guess what? Easy to draw is easy to animate. And that's why we have all of these developments throughout history, these crutches, like the little line on the lip. That's because it's easy to animate that. Early animators are innovators for what the styles are. They're not just accidental because someone decided to draw this way. When someone drew this way, it was easier to bring out thousands and thousands of frames each time. Look at what happens when we increase the lower eyelid. When we raise it. Okay, so I need liquefy here, or actually this one. She looks like she's scornfully looking behind her. Alright, she looks a lot more fierce. And imagine if you got rid of all of this upper eyelid space over here. She'd look even more fierce. So I don't know how fierce you were going, but fierce is the only word that comes to mind when I think of Princess Mononoke. That style has inspired my sketches a lot. If she's lounging, if it's a glamour shot, then I guess you can get away with this. But even a glamour shot, she's like a, what are they called when those kids are found in the forest? She's one of those. They have that 1,000-yard stare. Alright, I'm not really going to bother with these extra little shadows, but let's take a look at the before and after. The chin feels very strong, but considering we're talking about Princess Mononoke, I think I wouldn't mind a stronger chin for her face. I'm taking questions in a second. You can prepare them. It was a front view face on a 3/4 view head. Alright. Alright, so before, after. More ferocity, more strength in her expression, less glamour, more characterization, more accurate rotation. The two eyes were just too similar to each other. Alright. Princess Mononoke have that fierce eye-catching, maybe catchy eyes. I don't know what you mean, Ahmed. Hi. Strong styles can still represent a range of expressions. Wouldn't a narrowed brow help with the fierce, pissed look? She still looks relaxed. To me, she looks like resting fierceness. If she was really fully final form, Princess Mononoke, she wouldn't be, is that what she's called? Is that her? Is Princess Mononoke her? I forget. I know she's called Sin, but is she? Yeah, that's her, right? That's what they refer to as, yeah, anyway. Any more questions? If you want to shrink the far eye, shrink it towards the outside. Good, good, good. Tuck the corner of the outer eye, something. If you have a question so she can see it. Thank you, Linny. Do you think adding stronger cast shadows from the hood and hair would create more interest? Yeah, totally. A quick something like this. Yeah, absolutely. Are you kidding? So darken. And do this. And then adjust. According to the elevations and depressions on the face. And then lower. Yeah, totally. And to make the cast shadow work, you do need brightness out here, though. You do need brightness on the other side. I think it would be a little bit more like that. And it would end suddenly and abruptly on the nose and continue on the other side. Kind of made it slanted, I don't know why. Your choice. In class notes, can we elaborate on topics? Yes, absolutely. Is it okay that she is looking at us? She's not. I don't feel like she's looking at us. I feel like she's looking at my ear, and I think if you looked closer, you'd see that she is. I don't feel like she's looking at me at all. This one too. If you want to get the same kind of backward look, you can do this. And you can give it a bit more ferocity. But when I allow fan art, I allow it because I like to see what students' realistic version looks like. That's the only kind of fan art I allow. If you're copying it exactly as it is made, then you're not really bringing in your own creative voice or applying any kind of science really to what you're, what the heck is going on, to what you're doing. So stuff like this I approve of. You can do something like that. Just to have her looking over there. To make her look a bit more fierce. But really, she wasn't looking at us to begin with. I don't want to change it too much from how it was originally. Before. After. Is it okay? She's looking in class notes. How do you focus in 3/4 view? How do you focus eyes? You just start with one eye and you match the other eye to it. It's no longer adjusting both eyes to look in the same direction. That's how we do it for front view, but front view is symmetrical. And you can get the focus if both eyes are symmetrical. But if in front view they're looking at something else, that's when it gets complicated. But really, you just have to cross the far eye enough that it looks like it's sharing the same gaze. So if in front view, that's what we have to do. In 3/4 view, it's the exact same thing. It's just that the face is in 3/4 view. So exactly how you would cross eyes in front view if they're looking in an extreme direction, with just keeping the face front view, but looking in a different direction. That's how you would do it for 3/4 view. The rules don't change. It's still the same 2 lines of sight that have to match up and feed the brain a single image. Or the brain gives you back a single image. When you start learning something new in art like portraiture, it's easy to learn because there is a lot to learn. But after you learn all the easy stuff, how do you keep learning? That's the question right there. What an amazing question. God is in the details. So it's going to be really, really, really difficult for you to improve because you've covered so much. So the tiniest little additions, so right here, it seems pretty advanced now, especially compared to the before. But how do you keep improving it? What I do is I find other smaller units that could be improved per piece. They're small. You're going to find smaller things to improve each time, but together they compare into a really big difference between the before and after. So the slightest little depression in the inner corner here, the fact that we have flesh here hiding the far eye as well. So something like this. Those are things that I would keep elaborating on and changing. Fat pockets in the eyes in the way, just like that. Thickness in the eyebrows. This is how we keep improving, just finding tiny, tiny things that keep adding up and make the face even more and more realistic. That final level of highlight with the whites on a new layer. I'm going to get a pure white, but use some of it. I'm not using all of it. All of this right here, this radial progression up that adds that realism on the eyebrows, the glare of water on the lower part of the eyes. It's all in the details. That's how you end up improving. So look at the changes these tiny little things did, all added up. Okay, so before I started doing that, I guess is what I have to show. Okay, and that's how we keep improving. So this is a couple months apart of study, and you add all these to new extra things. All right, so no longer feels flat, and the more you work, the less flat everything feels. Good question, very, very, very good question. You try to rotate the things you paint and draw paint from memory. I don't know what you mean. Hello, Diogo Paccio. How can you manage to keep up with school, jobs, and art progression? You know, everyone's time management, every time someone asks me about a time management question, everyone's life is so different from each other. There's no set answer I can give you. All I can say, and this is the answer I give every time, is there is time in the day. There is a time when you're spending an hour and you don't notice it, either watching a show you can't pull yourself off of, or chatting, or hanging around with a sibling, or family time. If you have zero time and your family expects you to come watch a movie with them, but you only found the only 3 hours to yourself between school and work, I would say to the family, if you guys loved me, you would be okay with me going to my room and drawing. So every time someone gives me this question, I always answer it with you have time. I know you don't like to think that you do. I know you think that you don't, but you do. And if I walked behind you like a ghost wherever you went for a day, I would probably find around 3 hours at least, probably for some people at most, and I have to be fair, of just idle time. It could be hanging around on your smartphone in the bathroom for too long. It could be on Imager. These are my curses. Imager does not let me go. It could be a show that you just keep, letting play. I'm just pulling from my own life here. It's you have time. I'm finally able to buy a new computer for painting and Photoshop. Or Purchase Studio. What do you recommend for specs? Abu's really, really good for this kind of stuff. So if you want, Abu's specialty is computers, so you can go ahead and ask him. He also knows exactly what Purchase Studio needs to the graphics card, and he can probably send you a really, really great recommendation. So O'Connell, if you want to, go to my website and scroll down to the Portrait Studio form submission. So istebrak.com, and then go to the store and go down here and submit a form. Abu will get this, and I will get it as well, and I'll give in my input if you guys need it. I don't think you'll need it. I think Abu knows exactly what he's talking about. And he can help you out. He can give you an exact answer, an exact link to the PC that he recommends for you, depending on your budget, of course. But that said, if you guys want to join our community, go to Google Plus and join. Please, please, please vote for the next challenge. I'm not going to do, I'm going to pretty much say it like this. I'm not going to do the challenge if we don't hit 500 votes. I'm really not. If 20 people join, I will more than happy offer this challenge. But I really want to see that people are involved. Time is very, very limited for me now. And being able to manage and put these polls up and prepare the stuff and look for the photos and do all that, I want to know that people are going to join. The last challenge that we did, the last couple challenges were very, very detailed. And I answered a lot of the questions, and I want to keep it like that. So if I make myself available, you make yourself available too, and try the challenge. This one sounds like it's going to be very, very fun. Ancient Bow is winning, but this is only 6% behind. This is only 10, so you never know how this is going to end up. And please, please vote, read through, and just whatever you feel like drawing for the challenge, comparing it to what it's going to be about. Make your choice. What are your thoughts on photorealism? You're a human printer if you try photorealism. There's no creative interpretation of texture or brushstrokes or any kind. You are literally doing nothing but copying pixel to pixel from the photo, which is not art. You're teaching, you're showing people that humans can be printers, and you're opening up job opportunities for the future. You know, people can actually print stuff with themselves. They can be printers. That's what I think about photorealism. I think it's ridiculous, and it's a ridiculous waste of time. But everyone has different. I mean, if it shows a skill, it shows a patience. But all of the best artists, Singer. I mean, just looking at his work, he's not a photorealist, but he interprets realism in such a way that only his eyes ever saw that way. And that's what you're trying to do when you paint. You're trying to show people how you've interpreted this fundamental, and in the way only your eyes can see, only your hands can create. What the hell is a photorealist artist doing exactly in interpreting fundamentals? They're not interpreting damn diddly. Share the challenge around so we can make it happen. I'm going to participate this time. Thanks. I'm going to go ahead and go. Thank you everyone for joining today. You guys have been wonderful. If you want to, pay some support and just show your kind of support in that direction, even just joining as a watcher is a great way to support the channel. So go to Patreon and try that. I hate plugging, but try it. See if it offers anything you like. The challenge assignments have already been handed out for all my patrons of the apprentice tier, so it's a great alternative for private tutoring if private tutoring isn't right for you. And that's it. Thank you so much. Have a great day, guys. Bye.